All right, we are live. I'm going to wait just a few seconds here to make sure YouTube and StreamYard are yapping at each other, and they are. All right, so here we go. So welcome to the Rabyd Atheist. I'm your host, Ed Rabyd, a former pastor turned atheist, now compassionate anti-theist. Welcome to my channel. Tonight, Saturdays tend to be whatever the hell I want them to be. And tonight I thought we'd do some more Fangsology. So the whole point of Fangsology, of course, is to create more and more stories and theology about Fangs, the beloved atheist deity who doesn't believe in himself. So, but that's the whole point of this evening. And I want to talk about an idea that was brought forth during Deconversion Hangout a couple of days ago. And me and Earl, I Killed Earl, have been thinking about this for a while, of collaborating on an adult children's book and putting stories in it. And that kind of prompted my thinking on some other stuff. And so I think the children's book may very well evolve into stories of Fangs within the pages of the Old and New Testaments, so of the Christian Bible. So we'll see how that works out. But there's so many stories that are typically given to children during Sunday school time and indoctrination of children when they're early on in church. And so just, this is how you saw it as a child. This is how you should see it as an adult. I think would be hilarious. So, and it gives me a chance to do some of my humor. There's also a goal in chat. I actually have a new hat that I got this week. So 10 super chats and I'll break that new hat. It's a top hat form, but it's got a little bit of a classic vibe to it. And I'll leave it at that and see if some will get that reference at some point. Let's see. Earl was here earlier, just to remind everybody that there will probably also be some new art at some point in the stream. She's probably working on it as I am talking about it. So we'll see what happens there. Fred is here. Let's see. Martin just showed up. Saturdays usually tend to be that live stream where it takes a while to get people. Martin's here. Michael is here. So we'll see if that happens. All right. So we did have a couple of comments that I'll deal with. And this is kind of the way this evening is going to go, is like I am very much of a person who likes to illustrate absurdity by being absurd. And one of the absurdities I want to illustrate probably with this adult children's book is the absurdity of presuppositional apologetics. It's one of my pet peeves about presuppositional apologetics is that you can literally use it for any religion. Okay. And the people who practice it don't seem to realize that. And so for me, it's going to be like, hey, prove that Fangs didn't do any of these things. Go ahead, prove that he didn't do them. Until you prove that he didn't do them, then I can just go about my merry way proving that they actually exist and prove that Fangs is actually the ground of all being and so on and so forth. So it's going to be that kind of thing. Like I don't usually write anything that's allegorical or mythological without some sort of point to it. And this work will be no exception. And then we're going to see if the lovely Earl can illustrate a lot of that for us as well. So it'll be a lot of fun. And I don't know, she set like a year deadline, and I agree with that. So probably July 31st of next year, we'll be hopefully talking about a book that's getting near completion. So it's one of the things I do want to work on and get back to writing and this kind of mythology where I make shit up. I'm fully trained for this. I have a master's degree in theology, so I'm good. So, but let's see. We had a few comments that I thought I'd address while we're dealing with that. Let's see. Yeah, Fred says he heard that it wasn't horny old Joshua that brought the wall down. It was Fangs digging his burrow. That is a possibility. We'll get to that more as we go through some of the stories I want to write about with Fangs, because I mostly want to get, some of your crazy ideas. This is why I stream. So, so there's that. Let's see. Heard Fangs just wanted a swimming pool in his backyard on the Yucatan. His answer was to dig it was not his best idea. That was probably true. I'm not sure that's true of Fangs. Fangs is mischievous and a little bit destructive, but I don't think he likes to do epic stuff. He actually cares about humans, unlike some of the gods I can mention. So, yeah, and of course there were no humans back then. So, maybe it might predate Fangs is my point. So that might be a different god. Battle of the Big Bangs. Well, thanks. Cosmology, yes, there you go. And you just, Martin, do you do this every stream where you just test the waters to see who's there? There you go. Yeah, just Saturday streams are kind of by the way, kind of between Deconversion Hangout and my open forum on Rabyd Fire. So you do have to be a subscriber to participate in chat. It just keeps the casual drive-bys away. That they have to decide whether they want to spend all that. It could be. It's a lore live stream because we're going to talk about lore. Like, I just see too much potential to use Fangs to illustrate absurdity in the Christian religion. In particular, the Old Testament and the New Testament, just by injecting him as a character. Let's have the story, but then let's have the real story with Fangs in it. Is just kind of my basic idea, and then taking stories that are commonly used with children in Sunday school and books and stuff from the Bible, and taking those common stories and showing how you can really muck with this, okay, if you throw in an additional character. So that's kind of the way I'm doing it. And then throwing in the whole presuppositional angle of you have to prove this didn't happen, because that's what presuppers do with me all the time. Well, you have to prove the resurrection didn't happen, otherwise I can assume it did. And it's like, that's not how this works. Okay. Because then I can presuppose, what was it? Muhammad or Allah flew on a winged horse somewhere, and you have to prove that didn't happen. Or you have to, I can presuppose Hercules did his labors, and you have to prove that that didn't happen. You can literally take presuppositional apologetics and use it with every religion and just say, I assume the assumptions of my religion are true, and you have to prove they're not true. I can do that with every religion. And so I'm going to do it with Fangs too. So there you go. Dead stream for zombies. We know rabbits exist, and they were created in the image of Fangs. Therefore, Fangs exist. Look at the hairs. Yes. See, this is what I'm talking about, Michael. There you go. Just sometimes. Okay, there we go. Yeah, I want to make sure. There may or may not ever been humans. The 6.6 donations scare theists too. Yes. You're not as nice as okay. If you admit it, I'm not sure. Okay. So, what I'm going to do, okay, is I've got a very short PowerPoint. It's like 3 slides. I'll put that up now. This is more recent version of the Unholy Trinity pictures. So there you go. This is Earl tweaking with this picture, and she's still got some work on it she wants to do because, for instance, she has different types of tattoos on each of her arms, but we have myself as the night elf and Earl there beside me, and she is the lap in which our Lord naps, and so Fangs is there in his more true rabbit form, being a good bunny. So so you have that. there we have it. It's one of the few times you'll see him not being mischievous, because that's kind of what he does. He's a prankster god, trickster god, and a fertility god. So, or goddess, depending on your own orientation. So, so there you go. Do we exist objectively? We've only self-identified. Yes, Fangs is not a good bunny. He's not a good bunny. He's more rapid than Ed. That might be fair. That might be fair. Yeah. So this is kind of the latest one. This is kind of new artwork. It's something that Earl did a long time ago, but she has modified it since, and so um, much more. And some of you are in the background there behind us, so I know that she tried to put some of that in there as well. And of course, the lightning bolt is how Fangs arrived on this mortal plane. So we have that as canon. So there's that. But tonight, my whole point is to kind of go through. I've got 2 more slides where we're going to go through some of the Bible stories and see how we can put up Fangs versus Yahweh. And this is also a new piece of artwork by Earl that she revealed real quickly. She made this on the fly. But the more I thought about it, it's a perfect illustration of Fangs' early days and dealing with Yahweh. So he might be outside of ethics. Ethics, just doesn't apply to Fangs, kind of like it doesn't apply to Yahweh. But so I got rolling with this idea of how I can illustrate the absurdity of Bible stories by injecting Fangs into it, and how I can have a different take on the story if I just add one character, such as Fangs. So the whole idea for me, the overarching theme would be Fangs versus Yahweh, and trying to figure out who, even Fangs in his trickster mode, might be a better god than Yahweh. So it is kind of an ethical question, because these are some of the common stories that I've seen in children's Sunday school. I used to, when I was a Christian education pastor, these were probably some of the things we would talk about, how to present these stories to children, okay? Because you have to heavily edit the Bible. You really have to edit the Bible's content in order to present it to children. For instance, you have, for instance, with the creation of the world, I don't remember any curriculum or material presenting the cosmology of Genesis 1 and 2 as well as just the story. Usually they just, when you teach children and you talk about creation of the world, you just talk about the different 6 days and what he created. You never present the way the world is presented, which would be a flat disk with a dome over it, with windows to let the rain in. On pillars, so it's like a table with a dome over it. That's the way the earth is presented in Genesis 1 and 2. And kids that go to public school already are realizing that the earth is round. So it's like you can't present it to them that way. So you edit that part out and you leave it out. The one thing about children's stories, when you present them from the Bible, is you have to modify the story in order to make it fit with kids. Okay. And so my initial thought is, okay, what if I bring those modifications back into this adult children's book, with Fangs being the one to bring them back in? Like in the case of Yahweh creates the world, we have, we also want to deal with motives. Why did Yahweh want to create the world? And so at the time this mythology is written, Yahweh and his consort goddess Asherah are split. And so why does Yahweh want to create the world? Well, he's going through a rough divorce, and so he's trying to he's trying to figure out what he's going to do with his life. So he just decides to screw with human beings and make a planet. And Fangs comes along and kind of points out his real motivations and points out that the table design is kind of shit and, and it doesn't really work, and fixes it. So, um, so there's that. But yeah, it's like it's one of those things where I can really mess with the creation story, and I think Fangs could too, where he's like, this doesn't work. This table design just doesn't work. You really should go with a sphere. This is not the way gravity works, and so on and so forth. So, hi, Al. Good to see you. Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of what I'm doing. Yahweh kind of is acting more on his emotions, and Fangs comes in with logic and reason, and it just doesn't work. He's still a trickster fertility god. So, Fangs is like, okay, well, I'm not as powerful, from a might standpoint as Yahweh. So I'm going to figure out a way to fix this problem. And I think what will happen is, Yahweh creates this table universe and gravity just crushes it all into a sphere. So, and it's a way of illustrating how the story is absurd. And then the second story that is almost always taught to kids is the Garden of Eden, of course, you have to put fig leaves and bushes in certain places because otherwise you'd freak kids out. You got to have them somehow. You got to have Adam and Eve naked, but not show anything that'll get your parents all upset. So, I mean, when we did the story of Adam and Eve, you're often very much you have these illustrations that don't show anything. Like, they do not show genitalia for sure, and you have a real problem with Eve because you got to cover the nipples and everything, and the other thing is sexualization, because you don't want to sexualize Adam and Eve in any way, shape, or form when you teach kids either. I think I'm going to have Earl just throw all that shit right out the window. and I know I don't know. So there's a lot of things I could do there. I don't know, the Garden of Eden story, like I've already done it with Mary and the Annunciation. So I can also see Fangs taking the role of the serpent, because he thinks Yahweh keeping knowledge from people is just a real dumb idea. And somehow, the whole idea of making them aware of their nakedness is because, Yahweh's been kind of, being estranged from his wife. He's been using Adam and Eve as kind of his personal, his own spank file, so to speak. And, and so he that's the only reason he created Adam and Eve in the first place. So Fangs in a bad move, like he usually does, but with a good heart, he just like, yeah, you're naked. Maybe you should cover that up so Yahweh doesn't get his jollies as much. So, so there's that. Add Windows, then Bill Gates must be older than Adam. There you go. But I think, yeah, you just don't draw it. When we were dealing with the Adam and Eve story with children, I had to go, like, as a Christian education pastor, I had to go over every illustration that the teachers were going to use. So I don't know. I look back at it now, it's just kind of a weird thing that we did, because we're trying to impose our modern Christian traditional morality on the text. And the fact of the matter is, the ancients didn't have as big a problem with nudity as we do, modern Christians do. nudity was much more common because you had slaves and things like that that often weren't clothed at all. So it's like, it's not a, I don't know, the shame of nakedness wasn't like this moral shame like a lot of people deal with it. So it's like you don't have anything is kind of the idea. So yeah, he didn't consider the gravity of the situation. God, and there's a lot of our mistakes. Yes. And that's the kind of problem though that I deal with fundamentalists though, Al, is like they don't do that. They treat the Genesis story seriously, except when they know it doesn't measure up. Like if you get rid of a lot of, they were out over at Saturday Night of the Atheist over at Captive Death tonight. They're like, why do they take Genesis 1 through 11? Because everything else in the Bible is based on Genesis 1 through 11. I will give Ken Ham one theological point, and that he is very correct on that. If you get rid of Genesis 1 through 11, there is no original sin. There's no mankind becoming evil all the time. There is no Tower of Babel where languages are confused, and that becomes an issue in like the book of Acts when everybody speaks in tongues. If you think it's an accident that the writer of Acts puts all these different languages in it and kind of reverses the Tower of Babel, you're missing the point of the story in a lot of respects. Okay, there's just a lot of what the New Testament writers do with Jesus is kind of reverse all the effects of Genesis 1 through 11 to a point. And that's kind of what they do. And so they fundamentalists cling to Genesis 1 through 11 because if they lose it, stuff won't stay. Okay, it won't exist in any good theological form. They have to have 6 days of creation because it's mentioned over and over and over again in the Old and New Testaments. They have to have Adam and Eve's fall because it's the basis of the idea of sin and how to figure it out, how to atone for it. If you don't have Adam and Eve sinning or even existing, then everything else just doesn't make sense. Okay, so everything in the Bible kind of hinges back at these events. And so, yeah, if you're a Christian and you're in a more liberal church and they tell you not to take, that's fine if you don't take them seriously. But the implications are then the rest of the text is kind of shit. Okay, it doesn't really make any sense. So yeah. So there's that. But yeah, but we had to edit the Garden of Eden pictures more than the story. The story is just really simple. But I think I think Fangs can like pretend to be the serpent, and then it makes more sense to me. The story makes more sense. So how to create a better world. Don't draw it, just blank skin. Yeah, we could do that. I mean, it's an adult children's book, so I don't know. There's certain artwork that we won't present on the channel. We'll just put it that way, maybe. So some burning bush sounds like a medical use. Yeah, I'll get to that one in a minute. Like Noah's flood. I think it was it Cranky last stream or somebody suggested that the reason Noah's flood happened is Yahweh is really pissed off at Fangs for ruining his plans. And then also, Fangs is multiplying on a rapid rate. The rabbits are just taking over the planet and just, you just bring in the watership down mythology at this point. And so Yahweh decides to, drown the world in order to get at all the rabbits. So the real rationale behind Noah's flood doesn't have a damn thing to do with human being. He has to justify why he's going to drown all these human beings because he's trying to get at all the rabbit warrens. So because he's just mad at Fangs and his descendants. So there's that one. So there's that. But and so the whole rationale of the flood becomes to try to destroy Fangs and his family. So, and I think that's a better story, to be honest. Yeah, it just shows how ridiculous the leaves are. That's true. original skin. So I'm just saying, like, the whole point of creating Adam and Eve is so Yahweh, who is now estranged from his wife Asherah, can have porn. So he doesn't have anything else, so he just creates that. So thanks, Kevin. Appreciate it. Yeah, it's happy Saturday night for us. I think for my Australian fans, they're already in Sunday, but we're coming down to it. But thank you very much. Appreciate the support. Tower of Babel. I don't know. I'm thinking about that one hard because I think I can do like a different reason that languages are confused. Like it's a defense mechanism against Yahweh. Like I can have Fangs being the trickster god he is. He's the one that actually creates language, and then Yahweh takes credit for it after the fact. And he does it for some reason to protect everybody from Yahweh. So I can see that absolutely happening. I mean, when you look at the Tower of Babel story, the whole point of it is this is why they're trying to explain why there's so many languages, and it's like a divine action when, you know, it's something else entirely. Like language has evolved just like everything else. So I don't have a selection today because I have a brand new hat. So if we hit 10, I will wear the new hat. It is also a top hat and it's a classic. So, but you'll have to find out. And the only way that happens is you get the super chats involved or gifted memberships, which I would appreciate probably a little bit more. So, because then we get more emojis that way. Some of the emojis have been deactivated because we don't have as many members. So kind of bums me out. So, yeah, so the Tower of Babel, I think I can have fun with that. If you don't know what Abraham and Sarah is, this is where, you know, we have the promised child. There's a lot of other things I could do there, like Abraham pawning off Sarah as his sister, and so she ends up, you know, boinking some other dudes. So there's a whole bunch of relationship issues between Abraham and Sarah and why God would even pick him. It could also, it's funny, there's a missing story here that I know all of you would love to have in this children's book, which is Abraham offering up his son Isaac as a sacrifice. It is very hard for you to find a children's book of Bible stories with that story in it. There are a few, but most of them leave it out, and that's a selective editing. They're trying to present Abraham as a good guy, but when you have Abraham about to sacrifice his own child, I mean, why would you include that story in a book, a children's book? Why would you do that? If not to put, you know, the fear of God into them or the fear of their parents into them. And I think that's the only issue that I really have with that one is I want to put the story of Abraham and Isaac in this book and childrenify it, but then point out some of the things like, yeah, I'm just not sure how I get Fangs involved in that story because it's kind of a very brutal story if you really think about it. So, yeah, I want to put it in because most Christian children's books do not put the story of Abraham and Isaac in there. I went through a lot of them. A lot of them just straight up skip the story. Like they just don't put it in there. So there's that. Okay. All right. There we go. Yes, we're two down the road now. So thanks, Kevin. Appreciate it. This might be a long stream, so we'll see. I got Earl promising some new artwork, which she's probably working on right now, if I know her. So we'll see what happens with that. But yeah. Oh, there she is, the lovely Earl. But yeah, of course, Joseph in the multicolored coat. the first thing that came into mind is make it a rainbow coat and go completely LGBTQ with it. And the whole point of getting rid of Joseph is not that he's an arrogant little brat. It's, you know, he's gay or something. So you've been on there working on that. Okay. You know, do what you can, Earl. You know. So, but yes, I'm straight up down for making Joseph in the multicolored coat like an LGBTQ story, and Fangs just going after Yahweh for allowing this to happen. And what is your problem, bro? And you don't have, and he can mention at this time there is no laws against that. So what's the problem? You know, and you know, it really becomes the fact that Yahweh just doesn't like gay porn. So, and so he's going to make it illegal for that reason. And so they sell poor Joseph off into slavery in Egypt to get rid of him. So, and so you go, and then you also have like other issues with Joseph, like the reason why he's not interested in the dude's wife is he's just not interested in girls. I could do all kinds of crap with that one, with the story of Joseph. So, I mean, there's just so much stuff I could write here. And, you know, of course, doing an adult children's book, I can actually do more of a story than like when you do a lot of kids' books, you have to like make the narrative very simple and easy to follow. And with an adult children's book, I don't have to do that as much. So, but you're still trying to illustrate the point. So, but Joseph in the multicolored coat, I think will just be a straight up LGBTQ thing. So, yes, thanks, Martin. Yeah, I mean, it's the whole point is to illustrate that I can add a fictional character and not chase the fiction at all. I can still have the Bible result be the same. Like at the end of the flood, everybody's dead, okay, and there's a rainbow in the sky and all this other crap. But how exactly the real motivations behind the flood become Fangs has done too many holes in the ground, and there's too many rabbits, and it's the watership down moment where he confronts the big God, and so you know God changes his nature. So there you have that. Yeah, she's been hard at work. Stylist. Oh yeah, that would be a bad thing for an artist, especially a digital one. Yeah, I can see that. Moses and the burning bush. Oh boy, somebody already mentioned it. But how? Why is Yahweh taking the form of a burning bush? Could be a reference to STDs. It might be. So it could happen. Hey, Evan, good to see you, man. You are late, but we're having fun tonight, so just enjoying life. Okay, I'm just kind of going through the stories of the Bible and trying to figure out how to get Fangs into all of them. I've already done it with one, which I'll mention later, but I want to figure out how to do this because this has become kind of my outline for the book that I want to do with Earl and her art. And you know, we've set a kind of a year deadline for this. So next, I don't know if I want to give it a hard date, we'll make it July 31st of next year, but because we've already started working on it. But yeah, I think this is going to be a great collaboration between my bullshit mythology and Earl's way of turning it into artwork. It'll be great. So yeah, there's also an attempt, Martin, to make the Bible better fiction. So I'm going to try to make the story better than it is in real life. So there you go. Yeah, I prefer Tolkien too. I do. Catholic though he was. So, but yes. Well, we got Yahweh God with his lightning bolt. We have Fangs. with his axe, the band hammer, as we put it. We've got a guy in metal armor out in a lightning storm. And we do have tentacles coming out of the sky. So the elder gods may be involved in some of this in the way the elder gods usually are, which is usually most of the time elder gods just don't give a damn. And they're just about their business of, existing and sleeping and eating the occasional brains when they need to. So there's that. But we're going to try to make this mythology and fiction better by putting fangs in it. So, yeah, bringing hobbits back to the Shire was boring. Yeah, there you go. Hard to read. So, yeah. Yeah, but necessary. Stuff happened. Yeah, Fangs doesn't want to look. Fangs finds himself doing that a lot, actually, Fred, because he looks at what Yahweh is about to do and he goes, oh my God, what are we doing now? And see, I'm bringing in some, real life elements that'll be interludes, like pointing out that Yahweh was originally a minor deity among many for the Israelites that believed in him. Like they were a polytheistic believing culture that just picked their God, and they had Yahweh and Asherah. And for some reason, they discarded Asherah, and it became a very male-dominated society. And they went to war with everybody else. They were a war hill god, basically, because that's where these people were. And over time, this evolved into a monotheistic religion, sort of. And then Christianity got a hold of it and made it into some sort of weird polytheistic system with the Trinity. Yeah, keeping him consistent as a character. Yeah, he needs to be taken seriously in every story. Like he may be a trickster fertility god, but he's very deeply seated in reality. And so when he looks at what Yahweh is about to do, he's the voice of reason. See, in the end, Fangs is going to be the hero and Yahweh is going to be the bad guy. And that is as it should be. Okay, it is as it should be. He's going to eat your eyes. Yeah, he's the kindly demon. I think that is the mood I'm going for. Like he's Satan in a sense, and not really doing a lot of bad evil things, but just trying. He doesn't have the power to just go one-on-one in a battle with Yahweh, so he has to figure out how to use his powers a little bit more trickstery to get around Yahweh's bullshit. So best fever dreams ever. There you go. Good omens. That's the entire point of not taking him seriously. Yes, I think God. See, what you're going to end up with is this narcissistic, bad-tempered God versus this light-hearted, good-hearted trickster fertility God, and you're going to see a throwdown in the biblical stories. And in the end, it's going to be, Yahweh doesn't look good, and he shouldn't look good. I think one of the themes I want to get is to point out how Yahweh in the Bible isn't a good guy. Everybody is forced to conceive as Yahweh as a good guy, because if you don't, you end up dead. But so there you go. You're a fang stain. We have heretics already. I'm good with it. A little heresy is good for a religion. Makes it more popular. So there you go. Yeah, I really want to see. I'm kind of trying to get all the ideas coalesced into what I'm trying to do, because I don't know, this may be some of the best writing I've done in a while, because the dialogue between Fangs and Yahweh is going to be epic, and so, and I want it to be epic. So yeah, thought crime, adultery. He's the one that creates the doctrine of hell. We're going to get to that too, because I replaced one of the stories. Like here on this list, I have the 10 plagues of Egypt. If you go through most Christian children's stories books, what's not in there? you'll have the Red Sea parting, which is the next story. They very rarely, I very rarely have seen a children's book deal with the 10 plagues. And it's because of the ending of the 10 plagues, because you literally have the firstborn child of everybody die. And so, how do you? I remember as a Christian education pastor, I used to have a problem presenting that to children. Like, how do you present that to children without freaking them out? And so you just kind of skip over it, or you minimize it. When the kids get older, like their middle school, teen years, you just kind of mention it, but you don't belabor the point, kind of thing. It really is. Yeah, it's a horrible story. And so with children, it's hard to do, but I think I can put it in an adult children's book easily and make some of those points. So, yeah, as the firstborn, I'm the only born, so I get the horror too. I mean, so there's that. So that's kind of part one of the list of stories. And so I'm going to move on to the next one. We also have Joshua and Jericho, which is a very popular children's story. I do not know why. You have to literally, when you're planning this for Christians and kids, you literally have to leave out the part where they basically genocided the whole city. They killed everybody. And so I think Fred mentioned it earlier that the reason the walls fell is actually Fangs dug holes underneath the whole thing. And I would have to find a motivation for why Fangs would do that. Rahab the harlot. I can add the story of Yahweh actually visiting her ahead of time, so to speak. So yeah, I'm not going to present Yahweh as this clean character. He just isn't. So it's like you have the Joshua Jericho account. I don't know. I think you can do this one as more of what the real cause of the walls falling was, and then adding some different elements at the end. So I don't know. I mean, they all end up blowing horns and circling the city 7 times and all this crap. And so, but yeah, you could see where God's giving instructions to Joshua, and Fangs is involved in actually making the thing happen for a completely different reason. Do the 10 plagues every year during Passover? Yes. Yes. And that's the thing. I mean, I guess in the context, if you were Jewish, you have to kind of go through the 10 plagues because it's kind of the center of your identity. Whereas Christians, when they do children's stories, they can skip it because it's not as essential to them. Like the deliverance from evil, from the evil of Egypt, that theology just isn't in Christianity because Christians tend to be Gentiles. So, and there's that. So it was an accident. How do you accidentally try to create a pool with an asteroid, Fred? This is what acquiring minds want to know. Version of Jericho, yes. Yeah, he's just burrowing, and I think Yahweh wants to take advantage of that and sees what he's doing, and it just happens that Jericho is a good place. I mean, I could see why a fertility god like Fangs would hang out in Jericho if there's lots of prostitutes. So yeah, I could see that. I could see that happening. So judgmental. He overdid it a bit. Okay. David and Goliath. Man, oh man. This is one where, like, I can see Yahweh is setting David up to fail. And then Fangs basically uses his power of speed and like casts a spell on all the bullets to be as fast as he is. And so that's why when the stone leaves David's sling and hits Goliath in the head, it hits like a rifle shot. Like that's the reason why it worked. But, you know, Yahweh is of the same opinion as Saul, that he's just an arrogant young little whippersnapper, and I'm going to get this guy killed at the end of this Goliath spear dude. And Fangs messes that plan up by actually making David successful. So yes, Fangs was in the sling. Yes, there you go. Takes the form of a small pebble, and he is in the sling, and he's the one that kills Goliath. So, oh, bunny poop. Okay, deadly. That could be it too. Like, it's not just a bullet; it's like a chemical warfare thing too. Instantly paralyzes Goliath and then kills him. I can see this. We're gonna figure this one out. Okay, because there's just too much. There's like speed. There's bunny poop here. There's so many ways I can make the story of David and Goliath, where Fangs comes out the hero because it doesn't allow young David to get killed. But then, as usual, see, Fangs always regrets some of these. He regrets some of these decisions because it leads to consequences he didn't foresee, because he's not a prophetic bunny. Okay, he kind of lives in the moment, and he's trying to figure out what to do, what he thinks in the moment. You know, he's not like this omniscient God, and so he's just like playing the game. And and sure, there's that. Money poop shotgun sling. You're a fantastic heretic. There you go. See, you can be the heretic. See, I already have multiple denominations of Fangsology, so. He after on his speed of light during the expansion of the Big Bang. There you go. There you go. So see, there's that. And so I think David and Goliath lends itself well to Fangs being involved on the side of David, and Yahweh actually taking the side of Goliath, like hanging out with his buddy Dagon. You know? And Yahweh and Dagon have a falling out later. That's why he ends up going after him when the ark is taken. So it's a heretic. You got to spell it right, Harvey. Got to spell it right, Fred. It's a heretic. Okay, so there's that. Elijah and fire from heaven. That's a common children's Bible story where all these prophets of Baal don't do anything. And so I could actually interject the god Baal into this one too. The beauty of a lot of these characters is they're kind of already written for me. I just have to figure out how Fangs is involved. But yeah, you got, the fire from heaven and once again, Yahweh is like hanging out with his buddy Baal and is like, well, let's play a joke. And, and so it's like there's a lot of things I'd have to think about with this one, because what I'd want as a theme for this story is, like, every one of these stories has like a theme when you present them in a Christian context or a biblical school or a Sunday school or whatever, children's church, that sort of thing. And I want to present the themes reversal. So whatever Christians think the theme is, I want to say, no, what this really shows is this kind of thing. So, but yeah, you have, the prophets of Elijah, Baal, doing their thing all day long. And then Elijah just stands up and fire comes from heaven. And after he douses the sacrifice in water several times and consumes the offering, and thus proves that Yahweh is God. And I don't know, it's probably the issue would be that, Baal as a fertility god actually can't perform that day. And Yahweh has like still the burning bush problem that he caught. So he definitely could do that. So, and Fangs is just like shaking his head through the whole thing, pointing out what really happened. So I've got to have a Fangs save the pink wheel. See, that's where the Jonas that's where the Jonah and the big fish story might come in, because I think I'm going to have Fangs advocate for whale rights and save the pink whale and use a fish instead. Like he convinces Yahweh not to use a whale, but use a fish instead. And thus saves the whales while he's. Oh, I can already see this one. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's kind of like Fangs is limited, but he does try his best. Yahweh is unlimited, supposedly omni whatever, but he can't be bothered. So, but yes, I really do think that in the story of Jonah and the big fish, we can absolutely have Fangs save the whales from this fate, and convince Yahweh somehow tricksterly to use a fish instead, or something to that effect. Like it's one of those things where I can, because Jonah is kind of an ass throughout the entire story. The beauty of writing these biblical characters, I can kind of present them as the way they really are in the story. Like Jonah, he wants the Ninevites to die. Like, it's like, so yes, Fangs the sea shepherd. Yes. Yeah, that brings up rabbits do swim. So there you go. Yes. See, the thing about fish is fish. That's what the story says. Is it's a fish. It's not a whale. But in my own mythology, I could have Fangs pointing this out to Yahweh, like, for an all-knowing God, you don't seem to know that whales can't swallow shit, kind of thing. So he's going to save the whales from that fate, probably simply by pointing out to Yahweh that Yahweh doesn't know what he's doing. I really actually want to present Yahweh as somebody with a lot of power, but he doesn't know what the hell he's doing. Like he really isn't all knowing, because when you read the story in the Bible, Yahweh doesn't really seem to know a lot. Okay. He seems to mess things up quite a bit. So, but yeah, getting Fangs to save the whales would be absolutely perfect, and a nod to several YouTube creators that came up with that whole mess. That birthday stream is still legendary. So, hey, Ray, and Beck is here too. But yes, but yeah, getting Fangs to save the big fish from that fate, and then Daniel and the Lion's Den is a very common children's story, about how God protects His people. Even from the mouths of lions that would eat them. And, then of course, the part of the story you never hear that much about in the context of children is usually like, I've seen a lot of children's Christians book cut it off before they take all the other people and throw them in the lion's den. Like he protected him, they removed Daniel from the lion's den, closing credits. But there's still another part of that story I'd definitely leave in an adult children's book where the other dudes get thrown into the lions and eaten. And I can see Fangs being really sad about that. I can see this might be one of the cases where Fangs just doesn't have the power to stop the situation. He makes it a valiant effort to create an escape tunnel, but just doesn't work out. Yahweh's just being a dick. And so there's that. So Fangs knows the truth. He had a bunny present at the Elijah test. Truth was the fire. Didn't happen. So Elijah got pissed, killed the opposition, wrote his fake version letter. Yeah, I mean, we can have the fake version thing. Yes, 5-year-old God playing with his toys. Yes, that's a very good way to put God. See, I as much as I want to develop the character of Fangs in my adult children's book, I also want to develop the character of Yahweh, because we're now going to move into a different realm when we hit the New Testament, because now we got to deal with Yahweh and his son. The problem is, as most of you know, according to Fangsology, actually Fangs is the father of Jesus and Marilyn Monroe is his mother. Fangs just in order to cover up his illicit affair with Marilyn Monroe, pretending to be JFK, he goes back in time and implants the zygote into Mary, and then claims to be the Archangel Gabriel. Not one of his fire moments. He regrets this to this day, doing that time travel. So, but yes, and my whole point of doing that really is to point out to people, okay, you believe in the virgin birth, prove that my story is untrue compared to yours. So, yeah, it wasn't a lion's den; it was a rabbit burrow. It could be a rewrite, because what we could have is, it's a rabbit burrow, and then later on, I mean, because at that point we have one of the kings involved too. We have other characters, so Fangs turns away without names in Moby Dick. Oh, see, the thing about this is there's so many things I could do. And I know an editor is going to have a fit with this. Because when I get done writing it, it's going to be way more than any children's book, adult children's books need. It's going to have to end up being edited down, but still. So there's that. Got bit by the zombie Jesus in the wilderness a few hours after he left the tomb. That's very possible. I cannot deny that might be a possibility. See, because when I get to Jesus's resurrection, I have so many ideas. I'm going to have to center on one and have it fit the characters. Because by the time I write Jesus's resurrection, I'm going to have a ton of the character of Fangs and stuff for him to bring up to Yahweh. Like, because when we get to the New Testament, now I've got to deal with Yahweh and his supposed son, JC, that somehow there's a whole bunch going on there. Like, Yahweh thinks it's his kid. Fangs kind of knows it's actually his kid. Like, there's a whole bunch of stuff going in there. Or we just have JC presumptuously thinking that he is the child of Yahweh, and Yahweh's up there like shrugging his shoulder. I don't remember that chick. So I don't remember her at all. So there's that. Oh, but yeah, I don't know. I getting through the Daniel and the Lion's Den, Fangs doing, it's actually a rabbit warren and a rewrite, things like that. So, of course, Jesus is born, the whole birth narrative stuff. I could definitely have Fangs involved in that, trying to continue to engage in his cover up. Another common children's story is Jesus feeds the 5,000. Now, I think a better explanation is Fangs brought all the food through his multiplication powers, and Yahweh got the credit. JC got the credit for it. But it was actually Fangs doing it. So I'm throwing in Lazarus and the Rich Man because it's not a children's story, but it's something that should be thrown in there about how Jesus created the doctrine of hell. And like Fangs has this discussion with JC about what the hell are you doing? So, yeah, that's the thing, editors. See, when I write a lot of stuff and I put in a lot of details. And so when I really do good writing, and so I'm trying to get this down to an adult children's book might be very interesting. So I might be like the adult children's book version, and then there might be the full Gospel of Fangs, so to speak. That's not an adult children's book. We'll see, but we'll see. So. Oh. Oh, I'm looking at Earl's pictures. So, but I'll show that in a little bit. Oh, let's see. We're going to call this one what? Fangs, Blues Brothers. There we go. I'll put that up in a minute. I want to get through the list here. There you go. Yes, we do have some art. Hang on there. But Lazarus and the rich man would be one of those moments where Jesus tells the story and Fangs confronts him about the story. What the hell are you doing creating this doctrine? What are you doing here? Because I think what I'm going to have is Jesus Christ kind of be this presumptuous ass who thinks he's the child of Yahweh, but he's not. And Fangs knows the truth. So, so there's that. Oh, fluid transfer that went on. Yes, there you go. Fangs mix baby carrots. Yes, this is true. Yeah, brevity is not our strongest suit. It really isn't. When I write stories, like I put in details, and some of my best writing is where I hash out the details and make everything fit. And this is definitely one of those projects where I definitely want to do that. So, and then we got the crucifixion and we got the resurrection and all this stuff. And, it's like, why didn't Yahweh care? Well, Yahweh knows that JC isn't his kid. So somebody else's kid, he ain't mine. Doesn't look like me. So. Held and JC went back to his old ways, eventually joining. Yes, that's probably true. So we have that. But yes, the resurrection becomes kind of the capstone to the book, where it's like, Fangs being tricked by the ultimate trick, him and Yahweh going back and forth. I can see a battle here between Fangs and Yahweh over JC, and just having, okay, JC gets resurrected, but somehow still thinks that he's a child of Yahweh, and it's not Fangs that actually protect him, it's Yahweh. And Yahweh being the asshole God he is, he just kind of takes him in. So Jesus is Fangs' kid. Yes, correct. This is the one story that I actually have a little bit fleshed out, like Fangs in the 60s is messing around with Marilyn Monroe, pretending to be JFK because he can transform his looks, and gets Marilyn Monroe pregnant. And so he, in order to protect everybody's secrets and reputation, he takes the zygote right out of Marilyn Monroe, goes back in time and puts it in Mary, pretending to be the Archangel Gabriel as he does so. And then claims that Yahweh is actually his father. So, and this is a cover-up that Fangs has regretted to this day because it accidentally created the Christian religion. And it's not one of his finest hours. See, the problem with Fangs is he's not omniscient and he doesn't predict the future. So he messes up a lot without thinking. And that's why he doesn't interfere in human affairs as much as he used to. So, because he realizes they're unintended constants. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the artwork here and that I'm about to put up, and yeah, there's a lot in it. And I'm also glad as to who the co-pilot with Fangs is too. I think certain other content creators will. Yeah, I got to do an animated series, something. Yeah, Jesus is kind of the kid that thinks he's something he's not, and so I'm going to have fun with that idea that he's not as. And Fangs kind of as kind of a fatherly figure, a better father than Yahweh, by the way. He's going to actually take responsibility for his child a little bit. But I can see him like covering up for stuff. So Adobe Animator. Oh, that'd be cool. Yeah, Fangs ain't Omni. That's his problem. Okay, he can only foresee what everybody else could foresee. Now, because he can see through the eyes of all rabbits, he sees a lot, okay, at that moment if he wants to. But yeah, so it's like there's just a lot of stuff. All right, we do have new artwork, and so I'm going to put that up here. I got to find it. What do I do with it? I know it's here. Oh, well, maybe not. Hold on. I either put it in the wrong file, which is quite possible with me. Reload it. That usually helps. Okay, well, can't find it. I put it in the wrong place, which means I got to save it again. And here we go. All right, here we go. Oh, I don't know if I'll do that. It's funny. Hey, Rimmer, good to see you. But here we go. Here is Earl's new piece of artwork. She puts a lot of stuff in it. I am so glad that you also brought in Azho's devil puppy. I think that's hilarious. We're on a mission from me. There you go. Oh, and you're wearing sunglasses. 106 miles to Chicago. Yeah, there's just a lot in here, Earl. Oh my gosh. You hate the Illinois Nazis? There you go. Oh. Yes, there we go. The puppy should be more obese. I don't know about that. I don't know about it. But it fits. The Blues Brothers thing was brought up last time, and Earl went immediately into her mode of, oh, that's just too good not to use. So there we go. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff in here. But yes, many head pats to you, Earl. Holy cow. Oh, by your man given two arms to cling to. There you go. Oh, really? Yeah. See, I love this. Okay, absolutely love this artwork because Earl puts so much symbolatry, and I don't even always get all of it at first glance, and then I look at it later, and I'm like, oh, okay. And a lot of this, like, I have to remember some of the movie, and I don't always remember all the movie because I haven't watched the Blues Brothers in a while, so I don't watch as much TV as I used to, even old stuff. So I'm too busy, making my own shit half the time. So, there's a point when you move on from taking inspiration for other people's creation and trying to create yourself. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. So, per the Pinks brothers. Oh man, got the penguin in there. Heading to Chicago. Oh man. Yeah, the Illinois Nazi, that's hilarious. Yeah, you're getting a lot of awesome moms here, Earl. Well done. Well done. I tried to convince my boys one year in high school to do that, um, because my oldest son is like a big kid. Like he would definitely fit the more big guy because he was a defensive lineman, and so he he was a defensive tackle for the high school football team. Ended up turning it into a career in coaching, so not a bad move for him. Um, but yeah, he was that big guy, and my other son is like more tall and is almost as tall, but skinny. And I like, man, you guys would make a perfect Blues Brothers. Just get the sunglasses and the suits, and but they would never do anything together. It was just like they were so different. They just didn't want to do anything too. So stop staring at the boob tube. Now look natural to me. Yes, you can take your curtsy. I'm still looking forward to see you actually curtsy if ever I meet you in person. Which if we do a good job on this book, we might. So yeah, I have to say, Earl, Fangs kicks the shades. He does. I know we like to keep the red eyes with him too, because that's kind of his color. But man, he rocks those shades. I'm like, hell yeah. I'm right where with you. Okay. He definitely rocks the shades. So I have to see a little bit more of that with Fangs on occasion. So put his movie scene there, yes. The unedited one, yes. Oh, gonna watch after the stream. Yes, it is very 1980s. Okay, it's like if if you want a movie that'll take you back, it's definitely one of those. Yes, she included the penguin. Yep, I absolutely was saw that part. That was hilarious. Yes, Owl sings your praises there, Earl. Outstanding. But yeah, this is good stuff. See, I love Earl's artwork. So she puts it full of stuff, kind of like I write. I put my writing full of stuff. Details that are probably unnecessary, but they're necessary for me. So, so there's that. Yes, Carrie Fisher, because it it makes you wonder because which is first? It was Star Wars first or the Blue? I think Star Wars was first, and she has that scene with a blaster, and I think they put that in the Blues Brothers on purpose. So, so 70s has some good stuff too. Okay, all right, there we go. So I think what they did with the Blues Brothers is they kind of did a quick little spoof there on Star Wars because Carrie Fisher has the blaster in Star Wars, and then she has this stupid huge gun in Blues Brothers. So yeah, yeah, but it was just yeah, it was. That's the thing about creative geniuses, though, Al, is they often butt heads. Like there's some really good examples of some like great artwork, great music, but because the artists really had a problem with each other, they had the egos were too big. Um, they ended up heading their separate ways, which is too bad. But you also have like various people dying way before their time too. So yeah, she's the original Terminator. And see, I saw Star Wars. I was blah blah blah. I was 9 or 10. So, But yeah, I stood in line with my uncle for a 1 o'clock matinee. That dates me a bit. Um, which cost $1. I saw the original Star Wars in its original form for $1. So much like that, kept splitting up because Sullivan thought comic. Yes, and that's the problem. Like, they're doing a creative act, and one of them thinks it's silly. It's like, why are we doing this? And the other one's like, it's brilliant. So you never got it. Yeah. Well, it's, if you get rid of the really bad technology aspects of it, it's just a really good space opera story. It's more of I call it a space fantasy. It's not really science fiction. So, I mean, it has science fiction like elements with spacecraft and all that crap. But if you just take it as a story of a family, the Skywalker family, you probably get a better. Yes, I see that. Oh, Chicago. Don't ever change. Oh, the Windy City. Yes, it's definitely the Windy City. They eat a lot of beans there. I don't know. I think Chicago got that name because for a long time everybody's registering the wind, and it was always a lot higher than everybody else. It's like at the bottom of Lake Michigan, so yeah, you could do that back then, like see it in the theater. Because I would go to like 1 o'clock matinees for $1 back then. And you're all going to hate me too, because I used to be able to buy a bag of popcorn and a Coke for like 50 cents. So you think it smells like shit there? I don't know. I'm not a Chicago fan. Of course, it was high, obviously. Yeah, it's not the greatest places. Some places of it. The South Side's still rough. Or the thing about the end of the empire, yeah, which didn't end because you have the post quills where the empire resurges itself. So there you go. Ends never really end, you know. Yes, they did. Like, Chicago has many, many layers underneath Chicago because it's constantly sinking into the mud. And so every 50 years or so they have to like redo it. Now I think what they do is they keep jacking the city up and creating space underneath it, which they fill with concrete. Yeah, it's got its good points. Like, its downtown ain't bad. There's parts of Chicago that are really good. There's other parts, yeah, don't walk there after dark. So it's still the same way. So yeah, it's 20 years ago. Yeah, Chicago has its charms. Every big city does, but every big city also has that other side of it. So a lot. I remember it was a lot. So yes, it's always sinking. Um, it's because of where it's built. So, oh, Blue Man Group, yes. I hadn't seen the Blue Man Group in a long time, but I guess they, after Ozzy's death, they did Crazy Train. They moved it into one of their sets, and so saw them saw them do a little part of Crazy Train. So they used to have late night double features here. Usually Blue Brothers Monty Python movie, and beers are allowed in the cinemas here. So a good night out. Yeah, they did the opening part of Crazy Train recently because in the wake of Ozzy's death. So they're still around, the Blue Man Group. So Adam's Family, Forrest Gump. Yeah. Yeah, they used to have like around here they used to have a Saturday night or a Friday night free movie, which they projected on one of the side of the buildings downtown. And it was always, you had to pick out something more family oriented because you got all kinds of people there. But yeah. Hey, Bren, good to see you. Yes, picture show. Yeah, beer. Yes. See, that's the thing. There's a lot of venues that just don't allow alcohol, and they would be so much better if they did. Oh, they do have different ones around the world now. Okay, there you go. That explains it. But yeah, it's one of them did Crazy Train recently after Ozzy died, so they put it into their repertoire. So, oh, you're moving? Okay. Well, I'll let you. We'll leave you off the hook for that. I think the Kentucky Atheist is moving too. He's moving physically, so he's like down for a little bit now. You don't like alcohol at venues? Okay, that's fair. See, I think that you should have both. Those of us that like alcohol at venues. I mean, I go to watch people's behavior at such venues. Oh, they do. Oh, showing Rocky Horror at Halloween. That would be a good one. Midnight. Okay. Yeah. See, this is the thing. Like, if theaters are going to survive the long term, they got to do special crap like that. So there's that. Yeah, I definitely see that. T-Moon unit. Okay. Yep. All right. But Earl, I am definitely down with Fangs wearing shades a little bit more often to hide the red eyes. Like he is a trickster god. So if he doesn't want the red eyes showing and his vegetable vampiric nature showing, then he could wear the shades. Evan was thinking, okay, yeah, probably. The theater in the town where I went to college had midnight showings twice a year. That's where I went to my midnight showing. Drinking responsibility. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I hate moving. My pets always took the moving worst. Like when I had my dog, he hated moving because it took him like 2 or 3 months to get used to all the sounds. Like I remember when we moved back in with my mother after one of my church's destructions, it was kind of weird because he went around and she had at the time had a lot of plants and he kept barking at the plants. And now I know why, because he could probably hear them. Yeah. So yeah, it's hot, but it's getting cooler. It's 75 degrees right now. So yes, that's usually what happens with pets. Like their sleep cycle goes to shit. We had a cat move twice with us, and that cat always had a hard time for like a month or two with the move. Like it would hide everywhere. So yeah, so there you go. But yes, I okay. I'm the thing, Earl, is I can see Fangs because he is kind of a gray character, like an anti-hero type. I can see him, wearing shades, smoking a cigarette, and doing the thing. So. Just patrolling the unit and repeat. Yes. Yeah, he might be more into edibles. That's fairly true. Yeah, I mean, I could see like, could we do like a vegetable line of edibles as Merc? Involving bringing he got freaked out going to the vet and he hated it when we moved. Yes. I find that cats tend to like their territory, and when they move territory, they don't like that very much. I'll leave that to you. Okay. Cannabis carrot cake. Okay. Yeah, I mean, some people are allergic to cannabis. I know my daughter is. She tried it once and had a really bad experience with it. So she has not been there. There's a few people that are like it does not work for them. But yeah, oh, I love this one. There's so much in it. I'm going to be looking at it for a couple days. Yeah, it made my daughter sick. Like she got really sick and really freaked out and very paranoid. And after that, she has not done it since. So makes you violently ill. Okay. Yeah. See, it's a plant based thing, and not everybody's going to jive with the same plants. So yeah. Get trapped inside your body for almost 6 hours. Yeah, that would be bad. Yeah, there's people that I've heard of that too, where people like completely pass out smoking weed. I mean, it looks like we've been all smoking weed because we like this artwork, but it's actually really good. I love Blue's Fangs, by the way. We're gonna have to get Fangs and Azho's dog. Does Azho's dog have a name yet? Is it Fluffy or something? So we could have Fangs and Fluffy. But yeah, we're gonna have to get them out of the car and in Blues Brothers outfits. That'd be a hell of an emoji. So allergic to hemp. Smoking gives you an asthma attack, but edibles are literally the devil. Okay, there we go. Oh, it's the hellhound. The hellhound and fangs. Okay, there we go. Works. As who? Or fake as who? He'd get a kick out of that if he was here. I haven't seen him tonight though. So as hound. So fangs and as hound. There we go. I think that's it. But yes, he'd be fake as who. Earl got that one. Oh my goodness. But yeah, we definitely have to get fangs and more sunglasses. That's just killer. That's just killer shit right there. And Azho's dog, the hellhound, definitely looks good in sunglasses too. So yeah, I'm with you there. There's a lot of things that I have not done. And cannabis is actually one of them. And given my daughter's reaction, I wonder where she got that allergic reaction to. It might come from me. So I might have the same problem. And so I've never tried that stuff. Tobacco and me have never connected all the years I've been alive. So, alcohol is about the only thing. And I have such a resistance from my alcoholic ancestors going back several generations to it. It hardly affects me. So it's what makes it dangerous for me to even think about alcohol. So, except for what took ages. Yeah, I kind of figured, but it's like you nailed it though, Earl, with the sunglasses for both of them. They both have the right sunglasses on. Hey, Native. Oh, we're kind of like talking Fangsology here today. So, and me and Earl kind of have a plan for an adult children's book using classic. I think I'm going to use classic Christian children's stories and throw fangs in it and muck it up and make it better. So, yeah. See, yeah, I'm not a big fan of downers either, uppers or any of that stuff. I've never really done drugs except for painkillers. So, and right now my jaw has finally gotten to the point where it's healed enough where Earl's plan with the Motrin and the Tylenol actually works really well for me. So thanks once again for that, Earl. But I was taking that like every 4 to 6 hours for the pain. Now I'm down to like every 8 to 10. So it's my jaw's healing, and every time I get a weekend, I sleep a little bit more and it heals up. So it's been really good. Yes, fangs. Yes. Yeah, it. Thank you very much, Earl. It's worked really, really well. I appreciate the advice there on that one. It worked, and it's starting. My jaw is starting to heal to the point. The tooth is starting to heal to the point, and then they fixed the other side, so I'm not getting any pain because I got a filling there now on the other side. So that was painful for like a day, and then it's gone away. Regular, I still got three little minor things, and it's not cavities, it's old dental work that needs to be removed and repaired. So um, cavity free this time for my checkups. So um, but it's just old dental work that's at least 10 years old that's falling apart and they're having to replace. So get a copy of the Stinky Cheese Man for inspiration. Tolerance to chlorine. Yeah, probably why I don't know how to swim. Can pretend. I'm not like them, but I can pretend. Okay. Oh, we all came from deviled eggs. There we go. Started smoking tobacco because I wanted to smoke dope. It took me 35 years and a heart attack to move off of it. Yeah, see, and my father was like a chain smoker, and he quit cold turkey for a lot of the same reasons. Like he didn't have a heart attack, but his doctor basically told him, "You don't get off this stuff, your lungs are going to be awful." And the funny part about it, Michael, is he only started smoking because he joined the military, and he was in the Navy, and the Navy had smoke breaks, but they didn't have like if you didn't smoke, they didn't give you a break. So you could only get a break if you smoked, and so he started smoking so he could get a break. And later on, he struggled with it, but yeah, but he's one of the few sailors I know that never served on a ship because he was shore duty. He was a chauffeur for admirals, and so he had to wear that dress white American Navy uniform all the time with the sidearm and the whole bit. So I never got into the dip either. It's like I'm still. It's funny because I will always hear from theists how I just want to sin, but I haven't gotten into all the things that everybody says I should get into now that I'm an atheist. It's just not me. It's just not my personality. So yeah, he did. He did curse like a proper sailor. Where do you think I learned it from? So my dad didn't become a Christian until I was like 5, 6, 7, somewhere in there, and so I heard all the words before. Okay, as a special thing, the Aka protest, Sakata Park, however many years ago. Thankfully, it didn't take too many years before I quit again. A book in my head for the past year is initially. See how it's structured. Okay. Sir on ship, they did, sir. I don't know about that with my dad. My dad was more the typical sailor, like he was always in port though. So, and I don't know where he went in his personal time. My dad and mother were very hippy dippy until I came along, and then they suddenly decided to become conservative Christian for some reason. So it's not acceptable as a JW. It's not acceptable as a Pentecostal either. You can't smoke. You couldn't smoke and be a part of the Assemblies of God. Couldn't drink. Couldn't do drugs. Of course, you had the only proper place for sex was inside of marriage. So, man, my grandbabies will love it. Yeah, it. No, I think the outline is going to be good, Earl, because I want to illustrate something, and I always have a point with whatever I write. Like you may have to search for it, but you will find it. But yeah, I think this is going to be awesome. Oh, we had a pretty good stream. I mean, I'm going over stuff I'm trying to write, Dave. So, yeah, but I noticed the overabundance of the toast video today. And I laugh about it. It's not a bad jingle, but it's like it gets stuck in my head and then I can't get it out. So, but I hope you guys had a great time too. I love Saturday Night at the Atheist. That's why I pushed my stream back an hour. So there's that. But yes, we love toast. Yes. Yeah, I think the context is important too. But yes, I think what's going to end up happening, Earl, is I'm going to end up writing a lot of stories about fangs, and I'll probably edit crap out myself when I'm done. And I think the issue for me, okay, because when I think children's book, and it's an adult children's book, so we can play the adult themes too in it. We can put those in there. That's why there's some stories that aren't in Christian children's books that I want to throw in ours, just to kind of illustrate that. But I I think I can use my knowledge of the Bible, combine it with my imagination, and create some very interesting stuff. So I think that'd be great. But yes. Oh yeah, Dave, I love your show. Yeah, I think yeah, it's going to be like short stories that are kind of sort of connected together, and I kind of like that idea. I'm going to have to definitely grab a copy of that too. But yeah, I kind of like the idea presented there because I was going over earlier. Like, I think Fang should be involved in the Adam and Eve story, but we don't have to censor it. We don't have to, you don't have to censor the art like a lot of people do with that one. So, tiger that came for a pint. Yeah. See, I'm actually kind of looking up adult children's books as I speak sometimes because I want to know what the genre is and what I'm writing for, and you want to write in such a way that it'll get accepted by that genre, the people that publish it. So it's like that. Uh, yes, yes. Yeah, I think we're on the same page. My whole issue, Earl, is to illustrate the absurdity of religion by being absurd with this thing. And I think, because I said it earlier, it's like it's an adult children's book, so we can play adult games with it. But we also want it to feel like a children's book and get across to people what we're trying to do. So probably what's going to happen is you're going to do your artwork. I'm going to do my writing, and I'm going to tell you what I'm writing. You're going to tell me what we're doing in the artwork, and we're going to probably bounce shit back and forth quite a bit, but it'll be cool. Okay, so I will grab that. I'm going to grab it and read it. Um, so, but yeah, it's like I want like short stories of fangs that are connected together, and I can see a great way of doing that just by doing the typical Christian children's book stories, but putting a very adult spin on them. So, so we'll see what that is. So yes, hell yes. So, but yes, so it's it's a good collab for me because I suck at artwork. Okay, I take way too long with it. It would take me years and years and years. If I wrote actual children's book and tried to illustrate it, it would take me years to do it. So, and you and me are down and have the same mentality on a lot of things, which should scare the shit out of some of the rest of you. But oh Shunning is so evil. Yes. I mean, you guys were talking about some of the habits that get people shunned. Yeah. Pentecostals do that too. Bumping uglies together. Yes. Consensually. Yes. But yes, it's, I like this one, like the whole, we did a stream a couple of days ago and talked about Fangs as the Blues Brothers, and here we are. Yes, platonically, yes, yes, yes. Yeah, I don't know. You're one of the better friends I have right now, so that's good. My friends list is really short, so and you're on it, so there we go. But yeah, this is such good stuff. I'm going to be looking at this artwork later. I'm scared. Ignore the evil cackling in the background. Oh my goodness. Yes, on purpose. Yes, me and Earl both have very short friends list on purpose because we both have trust issues. So, yes, 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 yes. And Earl, when you see her stream, she does this and she rubs her hands together. It's perfect. uh, you know, the thing is, Evan, the problem with autistic people and friendships comes to mind, and there's a few autistic people in the room know exactly what I'm talking about because me and Earl both have the same thing. If you f us over, like you better only f us over once, and it better be worth it because after that we're done with you. Okay, like we will literally remove you from our life and be done with it. Like when I left my last church, there's like a lot of my parishioners I was friends with, sort of, but most of them, because of how they treated me when I left, yeah, they're dead to me. So it's like, yeah, it's the way it is. It just is the way it is. So yeah. So I just have this thing now where it's like I've been screwed so many times. I have a hard time making friends. Okay, that's very real. Okay, and it's something that my therapist brings up constantly. Like I need to be more social and make more friends, and it's like it's the hardest thing I deal with. It really is because I mean it's the same like with dating. Like if I wanted to date, it's the same problem. It's like I don't trust people. So, I mean, you guys are a lot of very friendly people, and I would consider you my, YouTube friends and followers, and we're friendly together, and I'm good with that. But yeah, when you get to those deeper friendships, it's just really, really hard. So, yeah, that usually is the way it is for quite a while. Rimmer is you have a lot of you because you're hungry for relationships, you let them get close to you. Earl's kind of the same way. I've lived a little bit longer, and now I am kind of like I'm. My experience kind of finally has overridden my autism and said, nope, not fucking doing it. So, yeah, yeah, all the emotional squizzies are done. I just don't have any feelings for a lot of the people that I used to call friends. So I just, yeah, I mean, we have a great show here. We have fun, and I love the people that come here. I would consider them friends, you know, to a point. But the people that I hang out with, that I collab with, that are, is a short list. Okay, it's a short list, and so there's that. But yeah, hey, it's Ronald. You are very, very late. How do you like Earl's new artwork? It's a Blues Brothers themed Fangs and As Ho's Devil Dog held the Hellhound. So, as the Blues Brothers heading to Chicago. Uh, uh, yeah, the thing about JWs in America is they're very, very strict, much more so than Europe, probably. Yeah, yeah. I assume everybody will disappoint me eventually. Then it doesn't hurt when they do. Yeah, it's kind of a stoic virtue too, Earl. A stoic would probably consider that a virtue. Like if you expect nothing or expect things to go to shit and then it goes better, then it went better than you expected. So it's a way of looking at life so that life actually doesn't disappoint you. Instead, it helps you. It makes you more optimistic. Yeah, it's the hellhound for now. I'm gonna go though with um, fake as hose hound. I don't know. So, yes, Ronald is speechless. There we go. Beautiful artwork. Yeah, that's another thing with Jada. Women in leadership doesn't happen. Just taller. Okay. Wink, wink. All right, fair enough. uh, Perpetually pleasantly surprised pessimist. I actually think that this is a good way to live. Like when I go to work, I expect a shit storm. And so when it's not a shit storm, it's actually a pleasant moment. Like, oh, that wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Whenever I know that I got to talk to somebody, I always picture like the worst case scenario the conversation could go, and then it doesn't happen. And I found out that as I've read more Stoics, this is actually the way they suggest that you handle life. Like, expect the worst, and when it doesn't happen, then you're pleasantly surprised. So, so there you go. Let's see. Any friend I allowed myself to become close to in my early life moved away. I become a cold-hearted human. It supposedly is a trauma response, but it's strange that it also appears in Stoic literature as a suggested way of living life. To be pessimistic is to actually improve your mood because life then turns out better than you expected. And so that can lift your mood to an extent, as opposed to somebody who's always an optimist, who's always let down. So, gonna drop the bomb now, hoping for the best and expecting the worst. Uh, Keep on chugging. Yeah, there you go. I mean, I strive for better things. I expect things to go south at some point because that's human beings and people in the world. But yeah, we all find our ways of being safe and not being hurtful. Yeah, most religions say not to judge, but they do judge. Yes, you're a pessimist. Yeah, there you go. PPs aren't a factor, honestly. There you go. You don't have the faith it'll happen you're hoping for. Yes, I think that we all do that too. This is what I'd like to see as the outcome, but it's not how it works out all the time. So it. I I have lived too much life to think that the absolute optimistic best is what's going to happen. I've also lived long enough to know that the worst thing that I can imagine isn't going to happen either. So yeah, I'm a big fan of having some judgment now about people. I think this is one of the things about Jesus Christ's teaching in the Sermon on the Mount, like don't judge lest you be judged. It's like it's one of those things. It's kind of like don't lust when you look at this, and don't get angry and all that stuff. And that leads to murder and all that stuff. It's like you're literally asking human beings to do something impossible. And I definitely think that we all judge our fellow human beings every time we meet them. So, yeah, it's a human survival thing. Oh, oh. Well, yeah, but yeah, honestly, Earl, let's also be honest. You're also a Southerner, and it's like Southern hospitality is a double edged sword. Like people in the South are really nice. I will get that, but every time I went over to somebody's house for some Southern hospitality, I knew everybody was watching what the hell I was doing and judging the absolute f out of me. And so it's like yeah, they're being real nice, but they're trying to discover whether or not they should say bless your heart or so there's that. But yes, it's like I I judge everybody too, and I've now realized how ridiculous that commandment by Jesus is. Like, don't judge lest you be judged. It's like human beings do that with everybody all the time. So okay, free will. Yeah, if you don't judge things, then you can't go, well, that's bullshit. Yes, Jesus was kind of a pessimist or an extreme optimist, depending on how you see you later, Evan. Appreciate you coming by. Actually, I'm probably going to head out too. I've got about 10 more minutes before it's 2 hours. This is usually my longest stream, so nothing beats Foghorn Leghorn. Yes, don't judge, don't think. Broken Pesari. Okay. Oh, it reminds me of the time that we found out that Jesus is a Pez dispenser. I don't know why it comes up, but there it is. Pictures that I still have not shown. Hey, Ray Ray, see you later. Yeah. All right. Opinions about how people ought to behave. I own a copy of Only Puss book on etiquette, and I've read it several times. Thanks for the suggested reading before I meet you. I mean, I think, see, I agree that I think when manners and etiquette and stuff starts to die, you're seeing the end of a society, because if you start treating your fellow human beings as objects, sooner or later that's going to come out in behavior. So it's kind of the first sign of things falling apart is when people lose basic manners towards others. So, so there you go. But yes, there was a time in history in America where manners were just expected, where you just weren't a good person. Even criminals used good manners. Careful expectations. I could be. My problem, I think the basis for manners is empathy. Like, it's a basic treating somebody with basic respect. And so I realize why you're bringing up Elon, because I think Elon has a problem there. Like, he doesn't know how to respect. There's a lot of people now that don't know how to do this, and unfortunately a lot of them are in power, but it's like yeah, it's one of those things where I look at it from a standpoint of, if you're going to treat everybody well, there's a manners that leads to human empathy with each other. Like, you treat somebody like you want to be treated, not because it's a biblical command, but because out of a sense of commonality and common humanness. And when we start avoiding our common humanness and our common empathy, I think our society is in trouble. you'd be surprised, Earl, how many feminists I've met that believe in chivalry. It is a conundrum. I I I like the idea of chivalry to an extent of protecting each other, of looking out for each other. Like there's some aspects of the chivalrous code that I can't complain about, like being honorable, like, you know, being truthful, upright, and doing the right thing. But yeah, I get you. I get you. Because I still like to hold the door open for girls. I'll be honest. If they would let me, I'd pull out a chair for them. But most of the time, a girl beats me to it. So yes, he has very little empathy. Also, yeah, he's had to do that. But yes, yeah. See, and this is the thing, though, Earl. I've been on dates recently, like in the last couple of years, where I go to do that, and the girl would absolutely race me to outdo it before I did it for her. And so it becomes like if I know that that's what a girl, you almost have to ask now is what do you expect out of this stuff? Okay. Because I will put on my chivalrous hat and I will treat you like a lady, so to speak, at that point, and I will do it. But a lot of times I gotten burned on that because I actually dated one of those feminists that screamed at me, I could do the damn door myself. And I'm like, okay. so so there's that. But yeah. See you later, Martin. Have a good one. Okay. I can see that. Okay. But I think now I would have to probably say that I'm going to ask the lady if this is what she expects. It's almost like you have to ask now because it's, I run into so many different women that have different standards on what they're expecting when it comes to chivalry, whether they're expecting it at all or anything like that. So it's just one of those things where it's like you have to have more information before you go into the date. So yeah, and a lot of people, I open the door for everybody, but it's like when I'm on a date, like I am absolutely the guy that would love to open the door, open the car door, hold out my hand so they can take my hand and balance and get into the car and, get out of their chair and hold the chair back for them and all that stuff. Okay, it's a safe bet in the South. Okay, yeah, when I run into I love the Southern girls for their attitudes about this stuff because it's like I'm not being a male chauvinist ass simply because I want to open the door for you. Okay, I think it's a polite gesture, and uh, I just have a I don't know. Les Patterson is the best netter, whatever. Okay, there you go. But yeah, it's like it's it's an interesting topic for me because on the one hand, I get that the ladies want to be treated with equal respect, but there's also this idea that somehow they still expect some traditional behavior, which is kind of weird to me. So, and then there's others that, like when I was in the South, I definitely opened the door for the ladies, and they appreciated it. So, depends on the part of the South you're in. Like if you go to some nice areas, like I experienced this in Texas. Texas doesn't have just one culture. It has like a lot of different cultures. And I've heard this. But yes, it like if you go to a rich area in Texas, they definitely expected men to open the doors and help a lady sit down and like hold out your hand when she's going up steps. You hold out your hand and she takes your hand to help her up the steps. Very much expected in nicer areas of town, and in the other areas of town, yeah, not so much. So I mean, it is more like, yeah, get in the truck kind of stuff. So, you're from the South, your truck has a name and your dog doesn't. That's civilized. Yeah, especially if she's wearing heels. Like we had to, like, up here in Michigan, like when girls graduate from high school, we have to instruct, like, you have to instruct the ladies, hey, you're wearing high heels. We're going to hold out our hand for the platform because there's no railing on it. Take our prize so you don't fall on your ass. And some of the girls still get upset with that because they want to wear heels. And it's like, when I was on the school board, you had to kind of like, hey, you're wearing heels. If the guy holds out your hand, take it, because you're going to need it. So, still open doors for strange women. The older women still like it. Some of the young ones not only fail to say thanks, they refuse eye contact. Yeah, it happens. I don't know. If somebody opens the door for you, I don't think regardless, you should say thank you. When I'm at work, sometimes I have my hands absolutely full of crap that I'm carrying around. And when somebody opens the door for me, I definitely say thank you, because it's like, it just makes it a hell of a lot easier. And I still get that, like, with the ladies up here, if I hold the door open for most of them. The older ladies definitely will do that. But the younger ones, I can do that myself. Okay. You can do that. Go right ahead. Everyone and say thank you when somebody does it for me. Not saying thank you down here will get you killed. Yeah, it's kind of still that way up here too. Like, but every once in a while I'll hold the door open for somebody, they just walk through and they don't say shit. And it's like, okay, fine. Well, yeah, the thing about your average Walmart is we have automatic doors for the customers, but we do not have automatic doors for the people that work here. It's like, yeah, it's like customers, you get the automatic doors. Okay. And the bathrooms just have that like half a maze thing. So they don't even have a door anymore. And you just kind of walk in. Yeah. So, and then the back bathrooms have a door and it's just a swinging one. And yeah. And so customers don't really have to open doors. But when you're working in the back area and you're coming in and out of the back area of the store, there's doors everywhere. So, yeah. Yeah, I said I used a lot of my manners when I was down in Texas. It's definitely something. I can't remember the last time that happened to me. Yeah. It's like thank you seems to be, I think most people understand the thank you. Um, I don't know. Is there any, the only behavior that drives me nuts that's overly polite is how much times people apologize for shit. It's like, why are you fucking apologizing? It's one of those things that happens, like come around the corner and somebody's standing there and it's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm like, for what? what did you do? You exist and you're standing here and somehow that's just something you're supposed to apologize for. Like, I don't get the apology, just, move out of the way. I just open the damn door. Fair point, Ronald. Fair point. But yeah, but yeah, I don't know. Politeness and manners is still something I like to see. It doesn't have to necessarily be a male female thing. Sometimes it seems like people apologize for being born, which seems like a Calvinist sentiment. Yes. See, I don't see, because like when I was working in the school, the kids that I worked with were constantly apologizing to me. And it's like, dude, it's just something that happens. Like if you intentionally did something that was a piece of shit move, then you apologize. But if you're just existing, I don't get it. It's like, yeah, I do that too because I've worked in retail. You want to know the thing that'll piss me off the most is when I'm out in the parking lot and I'll see somebody with a cart and they don't take it back to the corral. that will piss me off because I have done that job. Okay. I haven't done it a lot, but I've done it enough to know that when you just leave your cart, it's much, much more work than if you take it back to where it belongs. It also gets rid of hazards for other customers so they don't hit a cart, because if you do it wrong, yeah, it's like, yeah. Protestant legacy, even in atheist cultures. Yeah, I suppose. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I always treat wait staff and retail people very well. But it's like, and I appreciate wait staff when you are polite to them, that they do say thank you. That's one thing. My little trip to Ohio, we went to a restaurant. It was really nice, and the waitress overly did it. Like, and we had a large crowd too. There were like 14 of us, and so she got help when she needed it. She made sure everybody was taken care of. My glass was always full. There was always rolls on the table. It was like, yeah, I'm going to end up fatter than I want to be. Yes. Yeah. Make sure that's something, my dear, that, trust me, every retail cart pusher appreciates. Okay. Because it's like, what cart corrallers end up doing is they end up wandering across the entire parking lot on foot. Now, they now have this machine, like you could put a row of them and you put this thing in, it motorizes it so they don't have to push it. So you can take even bigger lines of carts in. But it's like, before that, it's like, if you don't put them all in one place, it's a lot more work. And so, just runneth over. Okay. Yeah, it's getting late, so I'm actually thinking about calling it a night, because I have a crap ton of things to do tonight, while I'm up late in my normal time where I'm working, but I'm on the night off, and I got a bunch of stuff for my apartment and things I want to get settled, so my brain gets more settled, and I can do that. So, but yeah, I wanted to show the wonderful, lovely piece of Blues Brother artwork that Earl did. That I appreciate it so much. Yes, yeah, I always appreciated customers that did that. So it's like they would pick up a couple carts and slam it into the cart corrals. So. So what are you saying about yours now? Do you not fold them? Like, there are some things I did in retail over and over and over and over again. And guess what I don't do at home? And having worked in apparel briefly, it didn't take me long to get over folding my shit. So look at. Oh, yes, I know. Gosh, working in retail, like, you end up in apparel. Everybody ends up in apparel at some point or another. So there's that. But yeah. All right, folks, I'm going to call it a night. Got some other things to do, but great night, good fun tonight. Next week will probably be some sort of video to react to. I'm thinking of heading back to the series on religion, and I want to go back to his first video and see how he defines religion and see if that's the problem. So, so there's that. But yeah, but I wanted to get some more Fangsology out tonight and get some ideas. And some of you had some great ideas of some of the stories we could write with fangs and the biblical characters. Oh, okay. So certain things that you folded forever no longer folded. Things that you didn't fold are still folded. Yes, I get that. Yeah, it's like I spent too much time in apparel folding crap, and I was never really that good at it. Yeah, so it's the more expensive things you kind of take better care of. I get that, absolutely. So, all right, folks, I'm going to call it a night, though. Great night, gonna have to say thank you. The hat reveal didn't happen, but we'll keep that running until it does, and we'll see what happens. But thanks everybody who donated to the channel. Appreciate all of you. All the likes and subscribes and all that stuff are very, very helpful. I appreciate all of you. It was a great evening, and I enjoyed it very, very much, and had a lot of laughs and fun. And that's kind of the way I like my streams, is have a little laughs and fun. So thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. As always, and may Fangs bless your carrots and all the rest of your vegetables. May he remove all the religious corruption from the vegetables in your life, and hopefully he does it with sunglasses on. So we definitely want to see more of that. But thanks, everyone, to him and Nom Nom, and may he keep your vegetables pure and your teeth pointy and do all the things that Fangs does for you. He's, in that regard, he does all that stuff as much as all the other religions do. So thank you very much. Appreciate it. And as always, live your best life. You only get one go around and then it's over. So make sure you're taking all your time, your money, your opportunities, and spending them on yourself, the people you love and care for, and to make this a better world. You'll be happier if you do. And don't waste them on the trappings of religion and faith, because that's a dead end. I speak from experience. And as always, folks, thanks for stopping by, and I will catch you all next time.